Do you have a leaky, busted, or just worn out radiator? Well, SuperATV's got you covered with our heavy duty radiator, and today we're going to show you how to get one installed on this Polaris RZR Trail S 1000. Let's get right to it. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and clamp off our radiator hoses. You can do this any way you like. We have these hose clamp pliers here. They work really well. So we're just going to get right here by the nipple on the radiator. Just clamp that off as tight as we can for the lower hose. Then we're going to do the same exact thing over here on our upper hose. Just clamp it off nice and tight, just like that. Then we're going to go ahead and disconnect the lower hose. So we're just going to take a pair of pliers here, get on this clamp, squeeze it, slide it back, get it back to about that point. So whenever you take this hose off, you are going to have coolant running everywhere, so you do want to get a drain pan handy, probably some rags too. You know, this is a good time to go ahead and drain the radiator and obviously flush your coolant system. So that's what we're going to do. Whatever comes out of this radiator, we're not going to reuse. You can if you want to, but we do recommend that you go ahead and put new Polaris coolant in it. Just gonna grab this hose here, wiggle it, and as you can see, it is gonna make a mess. No way around it. Let's go ahead and get some rags. I recommend just to toss them down the floor just so your floor doesn't get slick while you're working. So the next thing we're gonna do is come up here, remove our hood. Let's go ahead and set this out of the way for the time being. Then we have a few steps that we're going to have to take care of here. You're going to have a hose right here. So we're just going to go ahead and remove the hose. Take it, set it out of the way for now. Next, we're going to remove the following bolts. So we're not going to be utilizing our upper mounts anymore. We're going to be utilizing the ones that come in the kit. So if you have any wiring attached or anything like that, you'll want to go ahead and disconnect it. So this point right here, as you can see, it's got a wiring harness on it. Just want to grab it and kind of twist it out. Just like that, so that's removed. We'll take our factory bracket, set it aside. We will not be utilizing it anymore. This one comes completely off. Just set it up out of the way there. And then you're gonna have this harness right here. It's gonna be running through. We're gonna come right here, we're gonna cut our zip tie. It's gonna kind of separate everything. Push this harness back out of the way. Then we're gonna reach right down through here and you're gonna have your fan plug. You just wanna pick up on the tab, disconnect it. Then we're gonna disconnect our upper radiator hose. Then we're just gonna remove our upper hose here. Just kinda let that hang down a little bit. So once you got your diff vent tube off, your harness unplugged, your radiator hose is off, now you can grab a hold of your radiator and just rotate it. You just want to spin it to where it's facing like this right here, and then just pull it straight up on and out. It's definitely going to leak more coolant as you start doing this. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and transfer our fan from our old radiator to our new radiator. Remove these 4 screws. They'll be 10 millimeter. Then we'll just take our fan, lay it on the new one, and reinstall our hardware. So once you have all your hardware tightened up, you're going to notice in the kit that you have your new nipple here for your hose. What we're going to do is we're just going to thread it in right here. That'll be a 10mm head on that, so we'll just grab a 10 wrench, just like that. Now we're ready to get our new radiator installed to our machine. So next we're gonna grab our lower mount, as well as our flat washers and nylock nuts, and get it installed. So as you can see here, you have your factory lower mounts where your radiator was mounting to. Now, we're gonna put the studs of our lower bracket into the factory holes here. Once they're in the factory holes, you'll take one of your flat washers and you're gonna install that to the threads. And then you're gonna take your nylock nut and thread it on. Then you're gonna grab your bracket and slide it towards the back of the machine as far as it'll go and fully tighten your hardware on both sides. So now we're gonna go ahead and install our radiator. Just gonna slide it in sideways like this. And just as you go down, just kind of move any wiring harness, vent tube, anything that could potentially get in the way, out of your way. So just as you go down, just be careful. You don't want to tear anything up. And once it's in there, you just kind of want to rotate it like this. Then we'll go down to the bottom and we're gonna get it lined up with our lower mount. All right, so we got it slid into our mount. Now while we're right here, I'm gonna go ahead and reattach our diff vent tube. So that'll go just like that on the diff vent. So then we're gonna grab our upper mounts and they're gonna slide into position just like this. And we'll go ahead and take our factory T40 Torx that goes out here. Go ahead and get it started. And then also we will grab our factory 10mm bolt, which will go right here into the frame. And we'll grab our opposite side mount. Then we can just go ahead and fully tighten our hardware, our T40s as well as our 10. And we're going to take our vent tube, route it back through here and onto the nipple. Okay. Then we're going to plug our fan back in, just like that. And we'll grab our upper radiator hose. Go ahead and reinstall your upper radiator hose. We'll go ahead and get our pliers and reinstall the clamp. Then reinstall your lower hose as well. And you still want to make sure that you have your lines crimped off at this time. You don't want to undo whatever you have crimping your line. And you're going to slide your clamp on and try to line it up with the factory markings on your hose. You just want to make sure it's behind the barb. That way it makes a good seal. So with your lines still crimped off, but your radiator hose is connected to the radiator, you want to come in here and you want to remove your cap. You'll just go ahead and reach in here, take your radiator cap off, pick up on the plastic just a little bit, and you can slide it right past. Then we're going to take a funnel, slide it right down into the radiator. And we recommend that you use whatever coolant is recommended for your machine. We're using just a full strength antifreeze here. Then you want to make sure that you fill your reservoir to the cold fill level as well. Once you've reinstalled your radiator cap, now it's time to remove the clamps For right now, we're only gonna be removing the clamp off of the lower radiator hose, which is located on the passenger side. On the driver's side, we'll leave it clamped until we get the machine bled. So for this next step, there's a couple different ways you can bleed the machine. What I like to do is I like to get the front end off the ground, typically lower the back end, and then make sure your machine's in park, fire it up, hold the throttle to about 2,500 to 3,000 RPMs. It may take 10 minutes or so of doing this. It doesn't have to be a constant 2,500. You can bounce back and forth on your RPM. You just want to keep it revved up until the machine starts to overheat. As soon as you hear the fan kick on, come up here, remove your clamp off of your upper radiator hose, and that's going to allow it to circulate coolant, and then it's going to work all the air back to the motor, which we're going to go back here and show you where the bleeder screw is on the motor. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and remove our driver's side seat, and then we're going to come right here to the center of the machine and remove our inspection or service panel. And if you look straight up through here, you're going to see a bleeder screw. Now be careful, this heat shield will be hot. So I recommend that you use a pair of gloves or something before you touch that heat shield. And we're going to come right through here, and there's going to be a bolt. What you're going to do is you're just going to crack that bolt loose. And what that's going to do is it's going to push any air out of the motor. You want to make sure that you get this tight. Whenever you reinstall it, like I said, you just want to crack it. No need to completely remove it. So as you can see here, I'm running a 5/16 or 8mm, same thing, on a long 1/4 inch extension with a 1/4 inch ratchet. You could reach in there and you can get it with a 3/8, but I recommend doing something like this. It's a lot safer. You don't have to get your hands in there. It's very hot, especially after that motor's been running. This is definitely the ideal setup. So like I said, once you crack it, it'll get all the air out of the motor. Then you're gonna let it sit here, heat soak for a little bit. Once it's cooled down, go ahead and take the cap off, check your level. So you just continue repeating those steps, make sure your coolant's topped off. Just do it till you don't have any air coming out of your bleeder screw back here, and the coolant reservoir's topped off as well as the radiator, and you're good to go. All right guys, that's all there is to it to install SuperATV's Heavy Duty Radiator on this Polaris RZR Trail S 1000. To pick your radiator up today, check the description below for a link. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.